Welcome to the show. Creative Universe Checkpoint Earth presents Union News. Twin flames like the angels in heaven. We are going to talk about like the angels in heaven. And that is actually a citation from the Bible. Wow. I didn't know, but I was asked by Divine Mother to start to talk about twin flames in the Bible. So, at least in this episode, we're going to talk about that in some way that was pointed out to me in the Bible, and maybe we'll do more in the future. The real twin flame work happens on the inside, and then it will guaranteed manifest outside. In this series of lives, I share about what that means for my union consciousness process to inspire you to find yours. It serves as the source for your almost daily twin flame news. Today on the show, we have twin flames like the angels in heaven. Yeah, I was surprised because apparently I was found fit to talk about the Bible and twin flames. You know that we have touched on A Course in Miracles. That is a book in itself. It's almost a Bible in itself. It's certainly very thick, like a tome. And its value for twin flames and for union consciousness. And that actually explains the underlying philosophy, consciousness training that the Christ Masters point at, that Christianity actually points at. But like Muslims do the same, like Hindus do the same. So it's not exclusive in that sense. And the Christ Masters are also teachers we know via those places and other places. It's like the underlying consciousness, and ACIM, of course, Miracles, the book, says things about that. They're very educational, and because it is about union consciousness and you want to go to twin flame union, well, that helps. But then when you have a grasp on what A Course in Miracles says, you can actually go back to the Bible, back to the traditional book or books or whatever your traditional book is from your religion or cultural context. And you understand it differently, you understand it correctly. So that's actually sort of the movement that I made in that regard. This is all a helpful extra for the twin flame work that I stand for. And it's fun too, actually. It's a lot of fun. So yeah. And after I did a lot of inner work with all of this for a handful of years, I was apparently deemed fit to start to talk about things in this direction. So let's see what it brings today. But first, we're also going to talk about, other things, and we'll be guided in the direction that we need to talk about today. And it will be always edutainment for your union, consciousness, progression. So let's start with the twin flame union consciousness wisdom of the day. And I selected something, and here it is. Twin flames are in all sacred books, especially recognizable when you look at it as the first consciousness unit created by the divine. In other words, the union that is, in a sense, the person. Yeah, let that sink in. Twin flames are in all sacred books, but they're not called twin flames often, most everywhere. But that doesn't mean that they're not there. They're especially recognizable when you look at it as you're not looking for the word twin flames, you're like looking through the entire Bible, every page, and and the Torah and I don't know what kind of sacred books do you have? And you're like, I can't find the word twin flames. It's not there, Petra. I don't understand. No, you look at the idea of twin flames in consciousness as the first consciousness unit created by the divine. So God says, created something, people, something. Oh, we should go there. Actually, we should go to Genesis, the Bible, where God is famously creating everything, all kinds of things, the thing, us, the world. And you should look for, like, God creates a consciousness unit that's human consciousness. And like the first unit he creates, that's like, this is actually the union unit with you and him together in it, the divine masculine and the divine feminine together in it, that are emanations, that are expressions in the flesh from that unit that is the human consciousness. But what did God create? He created that union consciousness. And you might find that when you get a grasp, a feeling for where to look and how to read these stories on different levels. Not only like, oh, Pete walked to the house. Okay, there is Pete, and he walks to the house made of stone and stuff. Okay, well, that was not much, but maybe it actually talks about something else. Like human consciousness is taken into, I don't know, safety, right? Comes home on the earth or something. Well, this is just a silly example. This is nowhere in the Bible, but to just sort of give us a feeling for what I mean by other levels of reading it, interpreting it. So look at it as the first consciousness unit created by the divine. In other words, the union that is, in a sense, the person. When you go on this consciousness journey towards harmonious twin flame union, the consciousness state that it is all about and that you need for a harmonious, nice, sustainable, good experience with your true twin flame that also unlocks your true abundance that will flow to you and keeps on flowing to you, then you start to understand much more and more different things over time. Like your consciousness changes when you do the healing journey that entails correctly, and more you will get different understandings about yourself and life. And it might have a couple of stages, and it might even take a couple of years, and that's no problem. But eventually you will see that it's not you that is the person, the human. It's not them that is the person, the human. It's actually your unit, your union unit that is the person. You're like, gosh, yeah, we're just in a certain way or one union. But when you're at the beginning of that consciousness change, the healing of twin flames that we talk about, that might still seem like a weird idea. And like, yeah, but I don't really believe in that. And are you sure? It sounds a little bit quirky, and why is that important? And all kinds of things can be talked about there, but that means that you're still in the beginning stages of understanding and going deeper in the healing. And when you're pretty deep in the healing and you're in a consciousness state that it's all about harmonious twin flame union, and you go beyond, you go to the healing wave and beyond the healing wave, and then you just will see, it's just a guarantee, you will see things differently. And one of the things that might be different for you, that is that you start to see like, oh, we are the union. And then also, by the way, you see sometimes in present day culture that people are like, yeah, so we need to talk about the we, right? That's what we need to talk about. And The we economy and this and that, and we need to relate to each other. It's so important. But people have not actually done that consciousness shift of the true healing work. And then it is actually not true. Then you just need to begin with, well, let's heal me, right? And when I go deeper in that, deeper, 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 then I start to see that it's actually us and that it's you and your twin flame. And you need to see that in the true way, not as a fantasy or because I say so, but as a real result of your genuine healing, your own work. And then you start to see it like that. And then you go maybe to the next level and you start to see, well, there is no we, there is only one unit person here. And there's no sensation anymore that there is a we. There's just one union operating here. And that's you and your twin flame, but that doesn't matter anymore. And then you get even to the deeper stage, and that's when you start to recognize for real, not as an idea, not because you have to, but because that is the truth, that you start to see, oh gosh, now I start to see it. There is only one, and that's it. There's not even other unions and us, or other unions and this union person that is one. No, there's only one. And yeah, that's sort of maybe you could say like an end stage or something. Anyway, but you need to genuinely see it, right? It's not an idea. It's not the next fad or like as if it's a fashion or something. That's not what that is. It's a consciousness change. And it needs to come over you genuinely. So, twin flames are in all sacred books, especially recognizable when you look at it as the first consciousness unit created by the divine. In other words, the union that is, in a sense, the person. All right, that was our nugget of twin flame union consciousness wisdom of today. Lovely. Let's move the ACIM, of course, miracles lesson of today. It's lesson 253. And it sounds like this. Myself is ruler of the universe. It is impossible that anything should come to me unbidden by myself. Even in this world, it is I who rule my destiny. What happens is what I desire. What does not occur is what I do not want to happen. This I must accept. For thus am I led past this world to my creations, children of my will, in heaven where my holy self abides with them and him who has created me. You are the self whom you created son or daughter, and in ACIM that's the same. Creating like yourself and one with you. Myself, which rules the universe, is but your will in perfect union with my own, which can but offer glad assent to yours, that it may be extended to itself. Myself is ruler of the universe. And a complete lesson with more links to background information and a lot more functions that are a lot of fun you can get in the link, and the link will be in the Patreon when you're a member. And my Patreon link is below in the pinned comment. And how is that called? Well, let's say the description box. It unfolds when you click the three dots underneath the video, right? You can become this Patreon member and you support yourself in going deeper in these consciousness wisdoms that are so helpful when you want to go to twin flame union. And every time I place the show notes after the show has played out right in Patreon. So there you go. And of course, you can get my deals every month that are incredibly inexpensive when you are a member too. So all the more reason to become a member. So back to lesson 253. Myself is ruler of the universe. What I love about this lesson is that we just talked about it, right? This is just what we just talked about. It's just amazing. That, the person is, at the end of the day, is like the one union, and there only exists one, and you're just part of that. And that's like the final stage of that consciousness development. And yeah, that's why it says here, myself is ruler of the universe, because there is only this union and that was it. And yeah, that is just, it's everything. It's the universe, it's God, it's everything. Myself is the ruler of the universe. I mean, wow. Wow, right? There's only one union self, and it controls everything, and it has the will to bring forth everything that is valuable and of love. And of course, that comprises of you with your twin flame in consciousness, having been born in the physical realm on earth, having bodies, meeting each other, doing that will together in mission. That's what that means. You are the self whom you created, Son. And like that unit of the union, that is called Son in A Course in Miracles in ACIM. It is impossible that anything should come to me unbidden by myself. I think that's such a strong passage that it just says, like, everything that happens is my desire. Everything that does not happen is also my will, because I am the ruler of the universe, or myself is the ruler of the universe. It's not, I am the ruler of the universe, and now everyone must do what I say because I don't know because what, but that's more like the ego, right? That doesn't work. But the self is ruler of the universe. So that's also a big difference that we need to discern here. It's like all these things happen in my life, and all these things happen in my twin flame union, and I don't like them, and I'm such a victim of it, and I'm crying. But that's not it. You just need to step back from that victim ego and realize that yourself is the ruler of the universe while this all happens. While you are a victim and crying about what happened because you didn't like it, because your twin flame ran away or called you names or has another, blocked the communication channels, walked away from you to the other side of the world, whatever it is, and you don't like it. Well, that's not the right perspective. The right perspective is myself is ruler of the universe. And if you're crying there, sitting there crying, that's a victim ego, and that's not you. You are the self that is the ruler of the universe. And you apparently wanted that, so that maybe you needed to cry these tears anyway, because now the whole nature of these tears change, and they become like, oh, I needed to let go of something that was not me, and it was toxic, and I'm letting that go now. Nature of the tears changed, nature of situation changed. You took ownership, and you understand now, and you move to the right position again in the union consciousness of God. And you love yourself there. I mean, that's what it comes down to, because that place is love. And you let go of that story. Well, you wanted that story because it happened. And it happened so that you could go back to the place where you're one with God and in the divine love. That's where the twin flame is, not in that story. So you were correctly coaxed out of that story into the real you. into divine love as the self that is the ruler of the universe. It's correct that you had that story, and because it was bad, it was correct that you were bumped out of that story. It is correct that the story is now over because you accept yourself as the son of God, as the daughter of God, as the unit, the union of God, as the self that is the ruler of the universe. And you're grateful for your experience and you step into who you truly are. And that's where life truly happens. It happens in your twin flame union. So that's just very powerful about this lesson. I love that. I think it's just really, really awesome. And you can see that what happens in ACIM is always, it happens in the moment. It happens in your consciousness. It happens in how you approach what is happening, right? And that is so helpful. Let's go to the next section of this video. And that is going to be a segment of one of my own books because I have my own methodology for twin flames and I have my own twin flame books. And I actually collected them in one book that you can buy as a physical paper book. I think that's awesome. You can do that on Amazon. And the book is called Manifesting Your Abundant Life of Love. Twin flames manifesting your abundant life of love, actually, of course. Because there is no other way that you can manifest your abundant life of love, because that is twin flames. That's just the definition of what that is. So that's how the book is called. And I just treated it as if it was an oracle. I opened it, and this was the section that I was shown. And let's read it. It is the undenominational Master Christ. From Christ, the Anointed One, meaning he knows of God, of source, of the laws of the universe, and is blessed by that knowing. That is our predecessor in this endeavor. And so we go and take his hand without renouncing anything of our humanness, be it sex, money, our homes and families, our work and creative expressions that can be both so incredibly intangible as in liberating and innovative ideas, technology, or abstract fields of philosophy, as well as very nourishingly physical in cooking, sewing, painting, and so on. So we become a knowing person as a result as well, which we recall is God's desire for us. Understanding that consciousness desires to become conscious of itself through us. The universe is a forward blooming movement, an awakening, and we are the vessel for that transformation that is an expansion of love. We renounce all that have come before and that have claimed the second coming but are merely covered in darkness. We allow them to wake up and join our circle, for we do not see any darkness in truth. We are from now on forward only able to see light. So, for those that are hearing this and are in doubt and shadow, that feel themselves to be not fully light, do not be frightened, as we do not see your shadow. We only see your light. We see it, we acknowledge it, and you are fully allowed and invited to come closer to it and to us. We have come in peace, so peace be with you. And so it is. Amen. The second coming, the golden age, is here. From the Emerald Itinerary, page 309 to 10. In that paper book, Twin Flames Manifesting Your Abundant Life of Love. So this was, I think, the closing part of like a manifesto that is about the second coming, which is about the consciousness, which means the union consciousness, awakening in all. And it is about describing that I personally met the Master Christ that stands for that. And that I was initiated there. And that that gives me some sort of the blessing to spread the word so that you can receive it too, so that you can go to harmonious twin flame union, right? That's what it is. These are inner realities, the second coming, Christ as union consciousness, but they also become outer. They became outer for me, how I became a teacher, because I really met them in the flesh and we just dealt with things like people do. And I also become flesh in you when you go to your twin flame union. Your twin flame is a fleshy manifestation of that inner truth. And it cements it for you that inner world is true. That's what this series of twin flames inside the womb is about. That inner consciousness is true and truth and manifest and flesh and all of that. So this little segment of my book speaks about, well, let's join with everything that we are and have. Things can only get better in there, and they will, I promise you. So let's get to the oracle guidance of today, of this episode of Twin Flames Inside the Womb, with my Union and Mission card deck. Okay, let's get this one. And it is C2.3, a silver card from value to money for the service or product. Now, that sometimes sounds like mission business even, but we have also the twin flame union meaning of that. And you can translate that to the union meaning as. And we see here the water of feeling and the hand that is presenting something above. It presents the sign of eternity. So something of eternal value that is connected to the waters of life is presented to you, and it is valuable. Well, what is presented to you in life that is so valuable? Twin flame union. So that is the value, right? Value can also be money. Value can also be presented to you in a product or service that costs money. And when that is indeed a twin flame coach that can bring you to your twin flame union to your divine love, well, that's where it all collides. We're going to read from the booklet of the cards. And I will read the union meaning of the card. And then you could read the mission meaning of the card in Patreon too. The card's title is Honesty Sells, union meaning. In every position you can take in union, you will have to communicate. And communication always means to show yourself for at least some part, not only formless love. Showing yourself exactly how you are is the only route to success. Your conscious and unconscious pieces, your so-called light and dark sides, you will need to accept together. Not only allow yourself to be everything you can be for others, but also so that you will truthfully come across as a genuine person and can make yourself come true in the eyes of another too. Showing yourself exactly how you are is the route to a better version of yourself, right through that communication process towards a new ground. Life experience gained in these processes makes that you are being formed in body and spirit, in style and vibe. And more importantly, makes that your body and mind styling will be exactly aligned with your inner world. This is therefore the reason that you desire to accept both your negative and positive sides as a starting point, because only like that your true soul energy can start to come to light and expression. This will draw your true twin flame closer, the one that is one with your soul energy. They chose you for the long run, whether your communication is for the rest mediocre or fantastic. There is a natural attraction that exists, and you play into that unconscious vibe and make it visible and cognizable. This is how you avert manipulation, an overdose variant of communication technique. That's what manipulation is. But not just paying attention to communication techniques, old fashioned or based on the new law of attraction, and being more of yourself and having faith that the taste of that will transpire. You build real relationships, and they can eventually only be mutual and win winning. You are on your way towards accepting your expression to such an extent that your true soul's energy will surface and become communicable in a mostly automatic way. Working with honesty and truthfulness stops being work and will become your standard. A softness will accompany your love communication actions that will inevitably draw contours, and this is what will surface to show itself. So, communication is the whole vehicle of this value. It is the highest form of twin flame action. It is the last sort of crown of the process of twin flame healing, communication. When you have value in place and you walk the whole process, you will become communicated with your twin flame. And here we are together in this situation in which Divine Mother has asked me to talk about twin flames in the Bible, because it doesn't matter what kind of sacred book you open, you will find information about your consciousness. You just need to maybe read the story on a different interpretation level. And there it is. And today we're going to look into the book, the Holy Bible. This is the King James Version. We are going to look at the Gospel of Matthew in the New Testament, chapter 22, 30. But I will start reading at 22, 23. You know, Jesus is going around towns to bring the news that you can go to the inner kingdom where you are in union consciousness. And you can go with him now if you want to. Just say yes and follow him. And he talks about that because it's good for your soul to do that. You will get to know yourself in a different way, how God has meant it for you. You will also attract your true twin flame. But in his time, that was like, it happened for him. It might happen for you too, but it was not on the forefront, per se. The Christ masters that are on earth right now, for them it is on the forefront now, because this is a time in which we all can do it, and in which the new consciousness state is introduced and rolled out that is now known as harmonious union. To help you do that, make it possible for you to do that harmoniously and early in the journey. That's what you want. That's what you come to me for. But the union consciousness in itself was already in Jesus' time, 2000 years ago, the point. And he just forged this entrance to it for himself. I think forged is actually a wrong word because it sounds too much as if it is manipulated. That's not what it was. It's actually natural. But it was not natural yet for the people around him to do that. But he did it anyway. So in that sense, it was new. Maybe that's why I used that word. And it did attract all kinds of attention that was like not cool to his mission. There were critics that were known as very religious men that were around there in different groups. And you had the Pharisees and you had the Sadducees. And we're talking now about the Sadducees. And they would roam around there too. And they knew about Jesus and that he was teaching and whatnot. And they said, well, come here, Jesus. Let us test you. Let us test your knowledge so we can prove that you are wrong and we are right. And that was like the hobby of the Sadducees, because apparently they needed to put someone down to feel better about themselves, which is really what narcissists do. So there you go. But sometimes it is not understood that we have the Sadducees and the Pharisees, but actually these were traditional um, religious groups back in that day. And I mean, Jesus was not completely besides that. He did come from the traditional group in a sense, right? But he just started to speak out of his own experience of the real union consciousness reality. And then it did start to break away from what the tradition said and what these Sadducees and Pharisee narcissists said. It started to break away over time because, yeah, he just spoke out of his own real life now experience of this union consciousness. And that was alive and it was not dead like what they did, because they were like talking about something that they didn't necessarily have. They were talking about books, book wisdom. But Jesus had reached it. That's something else. So the Sadducees, they came around in chapter 22 of Matthew, and they started to talk to Jesus and started to ask him trick questions so that they would say, oh, now you said it wrong, and there you go, and we were right, and just have a lot of fun among themselves. That was the idea. The same day, I'm reading now, came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, if a man die, having no children, his brother shall marry his wife, and raise up seed unto his brother. Now, there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife unto his brother. Likewise, the second also, and the third unto the 7th. And last of all, the woman died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife shall be of the seven? For they all had her. Well, I mean, it already sounds like a trick question. They start to talk about that they all lose their wife and all these seven brothers. And I mean, it's like an absurd situation in itself. And then they try to coax an answer out of Jesus because they want to say to him that he's wrong. It sounds like a trick question already. When someone asks you something like that, you should be aware that this is a trick question and they're just having an alternative motive to ask such a question. You should have like a sense for narcissistic motivations in life and not answer such questions. Just ask a question back, like, why do you ask that, for instance? That's how you deal with narcissists. Jesus answered and said unto them, Ye do err. Is that wrong? You are wrong? Not knowing the scriptures, nor the power of God. Huh. You're wrong. You don't know the scriptures and the power of God. Well, especially the power of God, right? Because Jesus has the power of God in his experience, which is really something different than reading the Torah, because that's what they're talking about. We read Moses and he says this and this. That's the Torah. That's the Old Testament in the Bible. That's the Sadducees. They refer to the Torah, like we read about Moses and this and this. For in the resurrection, said Jesus, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. And that was the verse that I wanted to point to today. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are the angels of God in heaven. So he's just approaching this whole question differently. He's like, yeah, this absurd situation and all these brothers, and they all lose their wife, and but who should have that wife? And don't they all own her? And really questions of like social moral action and what's right and what's wrong. And he's like, yeah, well, that whole situation, like, who cares? Because you're talking about people that are not in union consciousness yet. And when you are in union consciousness, Jesus says, you're resurrected. That's what that means. Your mind is resurrected in the truth. You're in union consciousness. You're beyond death, resurrected, because Christians believe that Jesus literally died. His body died, and then he stood up from the dead again, and he was resurrected after 3 days. He just stood up again with his dead body and all and walked around again on the earth until 40 days later he flew to the Father or something, a little bit like that the story goes. But in fact, that may or may not have happened, but in fact, the resurrection is that your mind is resurrected in the truth. So that union consciousness is your direct experience. That's what will happen when you go through the consciousness change that twin flames, in fact, embody. It just means that a lot of love is collecting in your heart directly from God because you're with your true twin flame together in harmonious union. And that's how your consciousness also shifts and changes. And then at the end, yes, you go past that point of the resurrection of the mind. And that's where you're fully in harmony with your twin flame too. And you see that you have gone beyond death in consciousness because you don't believe anymore necessarily only in the flesh that is born and dies, but you live in the knowledge, in the living knowledge of the fact that you're an eternal soul together in union with your twin flame, and you live that. So, Jesus is like, well, for in resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. So he's like, well, you're talking before union consciousness. And you're like, yeah, what's better? Which of the brothers should have the wife as his possession? And, because we need to know which one is right and who the woman belongs to. And Jesus, like, Jesus, man, I mean, come on. They're not in union consciousness yet. So that doesn't really say anything. When you're in union consciousness, there is not this marriage that is like possession based. It doesn't even exist. And we don't even need to talk about like we need feminism and we need this and that, because what the fuck is that? Sexism and whatnot. Well, sure, but Jesus even goes beyond that, and he includes that, and he says, well, also that may be of the flesh and important temporarily, but let's go beyond it all. That's what he says. When you're resurrected in the resurrected mind, when you're in union consciousness, there is no such a thing like let's give the woman away or let's not do it because feminism. And sure, but that's not the point. When you're in union consciousness, there is just you and your twin flame, and they will just flow next to each other and love each other, because that's just how life is designed in the purity of the divine mind. And floating next to each other in divine love, how twin flames do, is it's just as if they're angels, because of the floatiness of it, because of the divine loving nature of it. And well, when we look very much into this verse, then it looks as though they won't marry, and then it maybe starts to sound sad, like, but I want to marry my twin flame. Okay. Well, it doesn't say that that is not possible, but what it does say is that, you need to go to this place where you're in union consciousness, and that's where it will be all floating next to each other, easy in divine love. And then I would say that when that is so and fully acknowledged and really true, you might as well also marry there, and I do that. Bring to marriage the being angels, as if you're angels next to each other in a resurrected mind. And that can be very valid, so no problem. Let's read a little bit further. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken unto you by God, saying, I am the God of Abraham, and the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. So God is not the God of the flesh. He's the God of the divine mind, of union consciousness, of truth, where you are alive, where you are beyond the resurrection. And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. Well, there you go. The Sadducees were too astonished to say anything because they just hadn't any direct experience with being in twin flame union to understand what the heck he was talking about. But they had maybe enough of a sense of, it sounds true. to be shut up. So, which is also how you deal with narcissists, which is also what a narcissist, what constitutes a narcissist, because that's when you're confined in your dead body and you don't feel or think any further than your body. And that's how you deny that you're a twin flame. And that's how you can't go to union consciousness and you can't go to union. So, yeah, I love it. How did you like that? Shall we do more Bible twin flame stories? Let me know. I choose now to explore the most complete depths of my being. I surrender my mind completely to God that He may bring it into perfect harmony with His. I invite God now into my very core that He may make it right, returning it perfectly to its state of eternal wholeness. I trust in the power of divine love. I choose to see the truth that it is universally accepted by all. At the core of every child of God, including me, we are all one with our twin flames and God. It is safe for me to open completely to love now. My love, love is not elusive unless you command it so, but don't worry. You could not choose against love itself because you are love itself, manifests you eternally. If you command it to leave, love does not leave because it cannot possibly leave. But you leave love by the power of your command. And by that same power, you can command yourself to return to love. And it is so, revealing to you that love never left. It is safe to let go. It is safe to relax into love's eternal presence. Love is calling you home, and I'll be there waiting. I have always been here with you, and I always will be. Your next step. Don't forget to actually start the process and jump on the team. Actively come to our community, start doing the correct inner work, and ask the support you deserve through our services so that we can start a relationship that will lead you to harmonious union and beyond. When you're not in a relationship, you're not on the team, and you can't expect the results I'm speaking of and in fact guaranteeing. Currently, we are going towards the opening of the door once more to Twin Flame Year Group Course, Twin Flame Abundance Now, a new version, especially for those that want to become a union coach and make your own money. I'm looking for 6 people to step into this abundant opportunity, and the door opens real soon. creativeuniverse.earth/abundance now launch. The show notes. You can, however, support this ongoing live Twin Flame news as such, make it possible as co-creator. Without your participation and financial gifts, I cannot do anything because we need to have an energetic and verbal visual exchange for things to make sense and to know what I need to talk about for you. And also because we're on Earth, and it necessarily always works with money as a means to make sacred content actually physically flow. Therefore, I post the show notes in Patreon. Come over and enjoy. Have influence on the broadcasts. Don't miss out on the behind the scenes experience. Patreon.com/PEJ at Creative Universe or click the link below. September 2025's Patreon subscriber action is the following. School has started. Hooray. Admittedly, students inside the group course Twin Flame Abundance Now have a special deal for an individual VIP session. This 2-hour session that also includes being sent workbooks and aftercare is normally available for €398 ex-VAT. And for group members, only half price, 197 ex-VAT. But within the second tier, Patreon membership in September 2025, everyone can go for half price. Info about how these kinds of sessions normally go will be found at creativeuniverse.earth/yourabundance. When you liked this episode, please give it a like. Consider becoming a member. Consider becoming a member of Patreon too. Share it with a friend. Just do all the things that YouTube tells you to do. It greatly helps. I'm Petra, in the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union since March 2020. Worked with the new Christ Masters on Earth right now to roll this consciousness state out so everyone can enjoy the abundant life with their true twin flames soon enough after going in with me right here. Don't search any further. You found what you were looking for. Om. Amen.